talking. So anyways, community managers play a very important role in the ecosystem. So they're basically on the front lines, dealing with a lot of different points of views, dealing with crisis management when there's issues that arise. As you can see on the slide, there's a lot of different discussions that you got to set up, a lot of different content you got to set up, blog posts, Twitter posts, you name it. So what I said right there was basically we're on the front lines. Positivity comes our way, negativity comes our way, praise, criticism, price prime, FUD, you name it, we get it. So that's one of the harder parts of being a community manager, for sure. So who's part of the Ethereum Classic community? So we don't have a leader. There is no leader in Ethereum Classic. We don't have a quote-unquote dear leader. Everybody's on the same playing field. So it's very similar to the way Bitcoin's set up. As you know, Satoshi Nakamoto's pseudo-anonymous person, nobody knows where it is, and so they have no leader. Essentially, everybody's their own leader. So that's the same principle, I think, that applies in Ethereum Classic for sure. So I mean, everybody is an individual, and those individuals are community members. And those individuals can organize themselves into groups like IOHK or ETC Dev or Commonwealth or ETC Labs or even a lot of independent volunteers. So one of the things that makes this sort of dynamic so great is if one of these groups were to disappear, or if one of these individuals were to disappear, it really wouldn't make a difference in the ecosystem because we don't depend on a single entity for the ecosystem to operate. So Ethereum Classic would still exist. So how do we make changes in Ethereum Classic? Well, we use pretty much the same dynamic that Bitcoin uses. So Bitcoin uses the Bitcoin Improvement Proposal, and we use the Ethereum Classic Improvement Proposal. So we have all the features, any kind of changes go through this. This is pretty much our formal, standard way of making changes to the ecosystem. So, somebody would propose one of these, and then it would be up for review, and then whether or not the community decides it's a good thing, a bad thing, it takes time. It would be approved or not approved, and so to cover more on the ETC improvement proposals, there's three types of proposals. So we have standard track, which affects the actual implementation. So let's say that would be a protocol level change. So you would definitely need all the clients to upgrade. So like the parity client, the get client, those to upgrade for sure. We also have informational ECIPs, which would be something more along the lines of maybe like a design issue or like a process, a change in process. That wouldn't, I don't believe that would affect the actual, I don't think that would force the existing clients to upgrade. Then we also have the META, which is another ECIP that has no effect on the code base whatsoever. So something like changes to procedures, changes to decision making. As you can see, here's a little graph showing you how it's proposed and whatnot. So let's say somebody wanted to change, one step here, that would probably be considered a META ECIP. So we've had some successful ECIPs. So let's go to the ones that we have coming up. So We have ECIP 1045, which is to add the Byzantium and the Constantinople hard forks from Ethereum network into the ETC network. And then we also have the ECIP 1046, which is been proposed by the IOHK researchers, basically to introduce features like non-interactive proof of works, which would be essential in the construction of a sidechain. So what makes the ECIP successful? What makes them get passed? I mean, not every single one is going to get passed. Not every single one is going to be accepted. So one of the, I listed 3 of the main characteristics that do have, that do push along and do get accepted and do really well. So that's to engage with the community, pretty much go on all the social media sites, all of our channels, and push that out and let the community know. And then also give them enough time to be able to review it, to be able to learn what the heck it is. Because a lot of the times, it's sort of technical jargon. So it might take some people some time to learn more about it and then finally come to a conclusion for themselves. And then obviously to provide some feedback to the original person who proposed the ECIP. So we have all the ECIPs go through GitHub, and on GitHub we have different sections where you can comment and you can leave your concern, or leave whatever question you might have, and that's where we get our feedback from, and that plays a big role in shaping whether or not something's going to pass, something's probably not going to pass. So if any of you are involved in the Ethereum Classic community, it would be really, really good of you to submit any kind of feedback, even if you're not, as technically competent as you'd like to be. Feedback is very, very important. So we have a whole bunch of ECIPs right now that are they're just sitting there. They're getting mulled over. We have more important things we've got bigger fish to fry, so to speak, before any of these cool features are implemented. So yeah, we have things like side chains with ECIP 1027, readable addresses with the transaction hash, private stuff addresses, and fix the DAG limit. That was a cool proposal. So anyone can propose an ECIP. It's not just limited to somebody on ETC Dev or somebody on IOHK or somebody on one of the other teams. Literally anybody can propose an ECIP. So how do you even go about getting involved in the Ethereum Classic community? Thanks to Igor, we actually have this new website up, and it has everything listed. It's called joinetc.tech, and you can go there, you can figure out exactly what teams we have, you can figure out exactly what resources are available, and then it also directs you to different locations to actually volunteer, because we do have a GitHub where volunteers would go and they would introduce themselves, and they would become part of the Ethereum Classic GitHub. So that's definitely something if you're interested in doing to do. So this has made it a heck of a lot easier than trying to get people to navigate GitHub, because that can be a challenge on its own, for especially for new people. But it's insanely easy to navigate, and yeah, we're always looking for volunteers. We're always looking for fresh faces to join in. I know we have a volunteer. His name is Kimmy. He does a lot of awesome stuff on his own time, on his own resources, and he's a perfect example of somebody who's completely independent, who can also contribute to Ethereum Classic. So with that, I'm going to wrap up and answer any of your guys' questions.